You're listening to the One Step Deeper podcast with your host, Jimmy Moore and Brittany Davis. OneStepDeeperPodcast.com.
So, Brittany, are you happy today?
I am feeling happy today. It's nice to not feel sick. I've been sick for like 2 weeks now.
Yeah, you've been sick and under the weather. We've talked a few times on the phone during the sickness, and you're like, I'm just like, oh, hello, nice to meet you too. So.
Yeah, I would have a couple of days where I'm like, oh, I feel better, and then right back down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, and that actually put us behind on some podcasts. So those of you watching, normally we've recorded these a couple weeks ago, but if you're watching this episode today, it just got recorded a couple days ago. Usually it's a couple weeks ago, but today it's a couple days ago. So anyway, that's just how it rolls, and we'll get caught up again. And we have something special planned that if something happened that you're still sick, I've got a special episode I've been kind of working on that we've done this before. So anywho, But today, episode 52, we have this whole idea of not being happy, but being content, and how it's very complex, the complexity of contentment. And it's something that I don't think we talk about enough, because people, and you were sharing this statistic with me the other day, people basically feel three emotions, which is?
Yes, it is anger, which if you follow me, you know, not emotion, happiness, and sadness. Like that's the three that they identify.
And so we did a whole episode on why anger is not an emotion, and we talked about all those emotional states that go well beyond happy, sad. But isn't that amazing how very basic we are in our emotional state, and yet contentment is a whole nother beast, which we're going to get into here today in just a moment. OneStepDeeperPodcast.com is the website. Go check us out, guys. That's where you can see all of the past episodes and listen to the past episodes, get all the latest and greatest, the show notes. Everything is right there at OneStepDeeperPodcast.com. We also debut these episodes on Sundays at 4 p.m. EST. Go check it out over on YouTube. And if you type in One Step Deeper over there, you'll find the show. We also put it up on Instagram video as well as on Facebook, so go check them out. Mondays, it is a traditional podcast. You can listen to it wherever podcasts are heard. Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, Alexa, and a Partridge in a Pear Tree. All the ways that you can listen. Definitely go check us out there. I listen sometimes on my Alexa just to kind of hear how it sounds in audio form, because I usually like watching the video, because you and I have a great dynamic together on camera, but it sounds, we feel the dynamic on the audio too. And then if you like the podcast, which if you're watching or listening right now, you must like the podcast because you're here. So if you're here, head on over while you're listening and while you're watching over to Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen, wherever you, whatever, leave us a review. We want to see what you think of the show. We got big plans for the rest of the year for the show. And so just tell us ideas, tell us your feedback. We just want to hear from you if you like the show. And then finally, this weekend, guys, it's finally getting complete. The long-awaited release of the One Step Deeper Journal, The Foundations, which is Miss Thang's here debut book. And that's a big deal. It's my 10th book. That's a big deal. It's my first non-nutrition, diet, health, keto book. That's all I've ever written. So we're so excited, you guys, to get this out there. Brittany and I are like going cross-eyed looking at this manuscript one last time this weekend to try to make sure all the T's are slashed and the I's are dotted and all the things. You're not gonna want to miss this book. I assure you now, if you like this show and what we do here on the One Step Deeper podcast, you have to make the One Step Deeper Journal, The Foundations, on your get list. We'll obviously let you know when it's coming, but the tentative date is late February, early March. So just be ready. When it's out there, you will hear me and Brittany shouting it from the mountaintops. You'll probably be sick of it. We'll be talking about it so much, but we're excited. I know Brittany has been excited too. We got like a special event in her hometown. We're going to do a book signing in her hometown so her family can come out. And I'm excited for you because that's a big deal.
Yeah. Oh, I'm definitely excited. And yeah, you guys, I won't stop talking. I mean, like, I already don't stop talking about it, but like when it's in my hand, like, just so you know, I'm not going to stop.
I told her when she actually gets the physical book, I'm probably going to sleep with it for a few days. And so I did my very first book. I was just like,
it's my book, baby.
Well, let's get into today's show, episode 52, the complexity of contentment. Why is contentment such a hard thing for people? I think I have a theory as to why I think it's hard. I think contentment is hard because people equate that word content with happy, and content is not happy.
Yes. It's actually funny that you said that. So, Brené Brown, I reference her a lot. I love her books. One of her latest book is called Atlas of the Heart. And I love this book, guys. It's right up my alley. I didn't even realize what I was reading. It was Brené Brown, and so I grabbed it. That's all I knew about the book. I didn't even read what it was about. And then I opened it up to find out it is a broken down book of emotions, like all of them. And so when we were getting ready for this episode, I was like, I wonder if she talks about contentment. You know, Miss Fang talks about contentment. So yeah, that's what she was saying in here, that contentment is about satisfaction, but people often confuse it with happiness, and that's not what it is. And it's not even being happy with where you are. Contentment and happiness, even though people group those together, they're not the same.
Yeah, I think contentment is being satisfied with your current state. Yeah. Even if you're not the happiest, even if you're in a sad state, you can be content and it lean happy or lean sad, but contentment is almost equivalent to that whole state of neutrality that you try to tell people to get to. A contentment is just a nice wrapped up way of saying, let's be neutral. Let's don't be too happy. Let's don't be too sad. Let's be right here in this level of, look, things may not be the way I want them to be, or things may be really great, but I'm going to be content regardless. I'm not going to lean one way. I'm not going to lean the other way. I'm going to stay right here. And sometimes people will hear that and say, oh, you're just living a mediocre life if you just stay in the middle. And I'm like, no, you're leading a more balanced, controlled. That's what I think of with contentment. You're not letting your emotions get the best of you, and you're allowing the contentment to be the driving factor rather than moment of happiness, moment of sadness, and you're never happy to the point that you're content. And that's the goal of what we're trying to get people to do, bringing those emotions under control.
Yeah, anytime I've talked about this subject, I immediately go back to me and Wild Man. I can't help it because we're so polar opposite when it comes to contentment. And so I tell this story about when we first got together. My husband is content with everything and like just satisfied, just doesn't need a better house or doesn't need a better job or doesn't want this, just kind of like la, happy with everything. Meanwhile, I'm on the complete other side. Like, I'm happy with nothing. I am satisfied with nothing. Everything needs to be improved. Everything needs to be better. I'm terrible. You're terrible. This house is terrible. Everything's terrible. We got to fix it all. Okay. And so I never experienced a human being that was just satisfied just to be how they were and be where they were and like they were. Like, it just. And so we just clashed on the complete opposite sides of contentment. And, that's when you and I were talking about the complexity that is contentment. It can be both things where, someone like me who I can be happy with where I am, but I also have this constant inner, but better, and then my husband is like happy with where he is and just happy with where he is, which can be complicated in the fact that you never grow. And so that's where, talking about contentment, it does get, you're right in what you were saying, that in how you view it. But I think contentment is viewed, we've talked about how some people equivalent it to happiness. That's not what it is. And you equivalent it to not going up here and down here and just kind of stay in the middle. And then for me, yes, but also being careful to not let yourself be so content that you never grow.
That is such a great point, by the way, that I had not thought of, which is why I love this show. We always have like light bulb moments with one another, and you just clicked one to me. if you're content where you are, it's kind of like those people that say, kind of like the fat acceptance movement. And I'm going to be a little controversial, but there's people that think, okay, just accept people where they are. And if they have extra weight on their body, and we should let them accept themselves, and da da da. But there's kind of a danger there, because if you totally accept that and are content, how do you ever work on it? So I think contentment requires you not just to, yes, be at peace with where you are in the moment, but what are you doing to maybe actively try to help at the same time? So there's kind of this unspoken, I guess, necessity for action to follow that peace within. That's the contentment isn't just saying, I'm going to rest on my laurels like wild man. Hey, I like it where we are. This is great. I'm not going to move. And it's like, okay, where we are is great, but I know we can do better. But in the meantime, I'm going to love what we have while we pursue better.
Yeah, and going back to the body talk, that's an easy one to bring up. I myself have struggled with this ever since I got out of the hospital, and I had put on some weight during recovery of that. I've really struggled to get any of it off. Yet I work out 5 times a week, I get sleep, I drink my water, I eat healthy, yet the weight is still on my body. And I think that's a good place to be, where I can be content with what my body looks like right now. I can be okay because I am doing all the things.
You're in the game.
Yeah.
And look, I go on camera every day doing an ice bath in 32-degree temperature water for 5 minutes. And I don't have the perfect body. I have some people snark at me. Oh my gosh, how are you doing this? Oh, I don't believe you're doing this. I'm like, I'm doing this because I have the weight on the body, because I'm active at doing things. But in the meantime, I'm not going to sit there and moan and complain that I look the way I look, because I'm content with where I am, because I know I'm doing other things while I'm content. I'm not going to beat myself up. This is the psychology of it, guys. Why would you beat yourself up on the way to improvement? Will you feel good in the midst of that? No. Why would you? The only way you can feel good on the way to getting better and the way to growing is to be content as you're growing. Don't wait till you grow and you get to where you want to go before you are content and feel good. You've got to be content now so that you will reach that goal. Otherwise, I think goals that you set for yourself are impossible unless you allow contentment in now.
Yeah. See, listen, you can't change from a place of hate. You can't hate yourself into changing. Not emotionally, not physically, not spiritually, not any way. You cannot hate yourself into change long term. You can temporarily hate yourself and go, I'm absolutely going to change everything, but it's going to be a temporary thing, because you can't change permanently from hate. It doesn't work that way. And you have to be content with where you are. And here's the truth bomb. And listen, we've talked about this very idea before, with me, when I did lose the weight and I got to the size I want to, and I got there and I'm like, I am not happy, because I was never content along the journey. I was never satisfied with the journey. I was so hooked and fixated on the end point that I never let myself be content at any point. And so when I got to the point, I still wasn't content. I still wasn't happy.
And that is such a great point too. You did what I was just describing. You made the contentment the goal. But then once you got to the goal, moment of contentment, okay, woo. And then it was like, why am I sad again? Why am I not feeling like crap again? Because the contentment wasn't a part of the day to day. The contentment became a destination, and contentment is the day to day, not a destination that you're going for. The day to day attitude that gets you to your destination, but it's not the destination itself.
Right. The contentment is not in the accomplishment. The contentment is in the acknowledgement, keep going. You're going on this journey, and it's as long, and listen, we talk about one step deeper here every single day, and we even in the beginning of the book, we start talking and kind of working you up. Guys, this is a long-term thing. This is going to be a long-term journey that you're on. If you can't find contentment in starting at the very bottom, just being satisfied with, what, this is where I'm starting and I'm satisfied here. But I'm also, I know that there's more. I know that there's better, but I'm always satisfied at this point. And so when you do take a step further, you are that 1% better. You're also content there. And then one more step, you're also content. So along the journey, you've been content the whole way. And like that's when it becomes beautiful. Like I was saying earlier on, that I've really struggled with just ever being content, ever being satisfied. And I can truly say for the first time in my life, after being, check mark done with book, it's more, Jimmy's got more to do than I do at this point. But like, I'm like halfway through my check mark. Like I'm so close to just check. That as soon as I finish up that check mark and I'm like, yay. Because I was content the entire process.
You've been. And the contentment in this case with you writing the book, it's been fun, by the way, as your co-author, and I'm on my 10th book. Yeah. Your enthusiasm has infused a lot into me. Not that I don't get excited about books, and especially this one is, I think, the most important book I've ever been a part of. But yeah, it's been fun watching this. And like, yeah, you've been the living epitome of contentment, leaning towards ecstaticness with that contentment, and I'm like, okay, temper it down a little bit. Because it's exciting, yes, it's something new, yes, it's fulfillment of a dream, yes, but contentment kind of keeps you stable, so you're not too high, not too low, which we've talked about in previous episodes. But yeah, it's been fun watching you.
Yeah. Yes. It's so exciting for me too to like watch myself personally develop, like, and go, oh, I am content. What? I am capable of doing that?
Wait, the personal development girl is personally developing? Who knows?
It really is cool when you sit back, and like contentment allows you to do that, by the way. Contentment allows you to give yourself that pause to go, hey, look at where I came from. And I was content there, but I'm content here as well.
It opens up for reflection.
Yeah, it really does.
Something that sets you apart once you start on a personal growth, personal development journey. You're able to have those pause moments. You're able to kind of take the 30,000 foot view and look at things and kind of go, all right, I see where all hell broke loose right here, but now I see that led to this and led to this, and connect the dots a lot better. And you can't get there if you're frazzled, if you're always kind of in this crazy state in your mind, which is why contentment brings it back to what the truth is, back to what the reality is.
Yeah. I'm just sitting here, I'm still thinking about the word. There's certain words that people say that just make you cringe. And I think contentment is one of those, because there's just this like, it's so like this negative connotation that comes with contentment, at least in my head. Like when I think about being content.
Tell me more.
Yeah. So like, this is when we came up with the title of this, we were talking about contentment. Like, this is why it's so complex, because yes, we've been talking about the positives of contentment and the things that can lead to, but like the negative side of content, the dark side, the unhealthy contentment, like I was saying with Wildman, like it leads to no action and to no change. And like, I think about, I don't know, like it's denial.
That contentment is complacency. I would not call it contentment. When you're so satisfied with where you are, and those people, speaking of the Big Bang Theory, Sheldon Cooper would be Mr. Complacency. He likes things exactly as they are, and when they change, it goes crazy, right? And so, sorry, both Brittany and I are big fans of Big Bang. It's an easy analogy to use, but complacency is what Wildman experiences. And look, I mean, there are people that's what gives them, they think, contentment in their life is just being complacent with where they are. But then those people always kind of go, why doesn't things happen for me? I see this person gets this and this person gets this and they get this opportunity and that opportunity. Why don't those things ever happen for me? Because you become complacent, and contentment is not complacency.
Yeah. I can see that. And complacency, like that gives you the front for like escapism and denial, where like you don't see.
And detachment. You can detach from reality and the world because you're in your own little bubble. Yeah. And complacency allows you to stay in this bubble. And what contentment does is pops that bubble, and it opens you up to the world to then go and accomplish things and become what you want to become and live out dreams.
Yeah, I think about so many people. Listen, I moved from a small town, but Aiken is not that much bigger. Okay, Aiken's not some huge town.
It's a metropolitan area compared to Wagoner.
It is. It is. This is town compared to Wagner. But I think about some of the people that live here, and I think about, them confusing contentment and complacency. Like that was me, like live trying to, like, you know what? Yeah, that was a good one. That contentment, in the way that I've been viewing it, is more complacency. Like I think about them and they're so complacent in, well, this is just how my life is. Well, this is just what I was born into. Well, this is just what it's like. This is just what my body looks like. Or, and when they do that, they deny that there's any improvement that needs to be made, and like that's the part that bothers me, the denial of, well, this is just how I am. Y'all know I hate that statement. I have shared. I cannot stand that statement of, this is just who I am. It's just how I am. Like the complacency of never wanting more and never wanting better. And so that's why, Wildman and I struggle so much, because we are so polar opposite. I am the person that tries to escape contentment, because to me it doesn't feel comfortable to just be okay with where I'm at.
Okay, yeah, we're talking two very different definitions of the exact same word. So I want people to follow what we're doing here.
Yeah.
Contentment as this good thing that you're,
Right.
while in the midst of going through life, you're content so that you can pursue dreams. You look at it in a very different way.
Right.
So fascinating that we're talking the same word, but
Yeah.
very different definitions of it. You see it more in, I see it more in a positive light. You see it more in a negative light of, no, you just want things to stay status quo. You don't ever want to change. You don't ever want to move. You don't ever. And so I think we need to get on the same page with the definition of the word as we go through. That's what makes it so freaking complex, you guys, is people can interpret that specific word. It's not just contentment they do this with. They do it with love, happiness. We can go down the line of all these words, but specifically on contentment, like I feel your hatred for contentment in that context. And I wonder, could you embrace a little bit of the definition of what I'm saying, so that you can kind of see the big picture? And I'll try to embrace, okay, I can see, yes, and I abhor that complacency definition. I abhor that greatly. I have accomplished a lot in my life because I've not been content in that way. Did you go keto and thought you had to give up wine? Well, let me introduce you to Dry Farm Wines. It is the world's first sugar-free alcohol that is lower than your typical wines, organic, made at local farms that do it the right way. Most of the wines that you buy are from 3 really big companies, loaded with additives and preservatives, so many dozens of those kinds of things. You don't want all that junk in your wine. So go to dryfarmwines.com/Jimmy and they will ship you these wines. And just because you listen to this podcast, Dry Farm Wines is going to give you a bottle in your first order for just 1 cent. Go to dryfarmwines.com/Jimmy and you will get your bottle of wine for just 1 singular penny. Go check them out. Dry Farm Wines, you guys. It's wine o'clock somewhere. Let's go get some wine.
Yeah, and again, I think you saying complacency, I begin to shift. And listen, what you're talking about is healthy Brittany would be able to accept your definition of contentment. Let's be honest, okay? Brittany isn't all the way healed from her trauma and from her past and the patterns and all the things from back there. I had this definition of what I saw contentment as. And listen, I'm closer to your definition now anyway. I'm just talking about the other side of it, that I have lived that. Where like I was never okay there. And so that was unhealthy, angry.
Well, and especially my dad saying, you're never going to amount to anything. So that became this whole idea of just be content with where you are, because you're never going to amount to anything. So by the way, if you want to see both Brittany's story, at least in the very, very abridged version, as well as Jimmy's story, we put it in the One Step Deeper journal, The Foundations. very quick. And I mean, we split it up in 4 parts so that you didn't have to read the whole thing all in one swell swoop, because that would have been a lot on both of our stories.
Right.
One of the chapters has like 12, 13 pages of just one part of Brittany's story. So definitely want to catch in on that one. But, and you'll see that, we went through things that made contentment seem like a foreign concept. The kinds of things that we went through, the fact that we can even entertain this idea of contentment being a good thing today is actually kind of a minor miracle after you read our stories.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Like, yes. I'm just sitting here like, so, I don't know. I can't think of the word, but just like dumbfounded almost that I have equivalated contentment with complacency for so many years. Not for the lack of misunderstanding, but just how I viewed it. My perception of contentment was.
But both definitions are true.
Yes.
But your perception was guided by your life experiences. You just did a story today that I turned into a reel. You turned into a reel over on our Instagram pages at becoming.brittanylee, over on Instagram at Living Low Carb Man. Go check those out. But and you just explained, look, we exhibit what we know based on what we were told and what our life experience was. And so if your idea of contentment, well, just forget about what that guy did to you at 12 years old, Brittany. It was in the past. It's over. It's done with. Be content today. What's your problem? Or, he beat you and he told you were a useless piece of shit and you're never going to amount to anything. No girl ever's going to want to be with you. Okay, just that's in the past. That was 30 years ago, Jimmy. What are you still harping on that for? And so your definition of contentment, I'm not chastising you for it. I think it's very much valid. At the same time that my definition is very much valid. So this is what makes it complex. When you hear contentment, guys, hear both.
Yeah.
Hear both that, okay, somebody could be complacent, but also somebody could be hopeful as they're pursuing the things they want in their life. And you can honor both of those definitions simultaneously. So that you can grow. Like that's literally what we try to do on this podcast and our book is help you get to a point where you can grow and you can reach that point of contentment and even shift that definition. So I'm glad to hear the complacency is shifting a little bit more in the other direction.
Yeah. It's I'd like to shift it even more to just see contentment as just peaceful satisfaction. Just that it's a peaceful feeling to be content and that you're satisfied, but also on the way to where you're going. I can't help it.
And those of you that are Christians, the Bible actually speaks very clearly on contentment. The Bible doesn't say just be happy. It does have things in there about being happy, but it's saying be content with your life. If you go to the Word of God, it says that very clearly. So those of you that are Christian and kind of incorporate that into this, it's very clear. Contentment is a command. Contentment is something you should be pursuing.
I think that's it. Okay. Like if you guys want to understand why my definition of this, where it comes from, I was raised in church. And so I heard this word, just be content where you are in church. Meanwhile, I was getting the shit beat out of me at home. Yet in church, even though nobody knew, I was getting told to just be happy with my life. Just be content where you are.
Yes.
And so,
hey, Brittany,
there's the disconnect.
Hey, Brittany, be content that a man's got his hands all over parts of your body he has no business having his hands on. Just be content with that, Brittany. Brittany, be okay with coming home to a man telling you that I want to beat somebody today. Just be content with that, Brittany. It's okay. Jimmy, be content that you didn't know what kind of emotional state your dad was in. So walk on eggshells around him and maybe he won't beat you, but be content regardless.
Yeah, just be content with where you are. I think that's why there's such an inner problem. Yeah, there's just this inner negative connotation when it comes to that word for me. Well, I think that's where it comes from.
Stop and think about it. Telling someone who's going through turmoil to just be content, that's a bit of gaslighting. That's a little bit telling them that their reality is not happening.
Yeah.
And therefore, get over it. That's basically what Be content in the midst of that. Now, both of us are far away from our abuse now. And we're able to now look back in hindsight at those experiences. But maybe those of you watching this, listening to this right now, maybe you've never done this like dissecting of things that were told to you, events that happened in your life. And this is the first time you're really examining contentment, maybe in both ways, that you've seen it in one way, like Miss Thang here saw it only as kind of this really negative, I got to get rid of contentment. No, I don't want to be content. That's complacent. I don't want to. Whereas I'm like, contentment, yes, I'm going to be very happy and bold and at peace while I'm pursuing dreams of my heart. You see how you can go one way or the other, even though both are true, you can allow yourself to dwell on one versus the other.
Yeah, and it's crazy where our mindset goes with like, that's why I love this show. Okay, let's just be, I love this show. And I was even reading through the book today. I'm just like, it is so true. Jimmy, the Gen X male, and I'm the female millennial. It's just like, we're so different. But at the same time, to be able to meet on this show and talk about things like contentment and take it from two different perspectives and like showcase it to everybody else who might think like you and might see contentment like you, or who might see contentment like I do. And it might just like crawl their skin to think about contentment like I get it, okay? And I've been around people who are like me too. I was talking to my friend this morning. Her name is Brittany. And somehow...
All of Brittany's friends are named Brittany except for me. My nickname is Brittany, just so you know.
No, really, it's serious. I have two friends who are Brittany. One has been here on the podcast before. That's not the one I'm talking about. My friend Brittany this morning, we were talking that both her and I have this problem with contentment. I kind of was talking about the episode that it's like, no, I can't be okay with that. No, I'm not okay here. And so it's kind of funny to watch the opposite, but it is cool to hear you talk about how you see it. And it makes me go, I want to see it like that. You know, it makes me curious of maybe I've been looking at this through the wrong prism, you know, this whole time. And of course I know that.
I wouldn't even characterize it as the wrong prism. It's the prism you've known. And so if it's all you've known and it's all you've dwelt on, I guess is the proper word. Yes, I speak gooder for a living. So it's all you dwelt on your whole life. It's your definition. I don't blame you. But like undoing a lot of the ways that we think, that's kind of what we challenge what you believe. We undo a lot of like, I want to get into how much does trauma play into this contentment discussion? It has to play a huge role.
Yeah. I think that's why I struggle with it so much, because like I said, I was getting told to just be content. And of course, these people aren't looking at me telling me this after they heard what's happening to me. They don't know what's happening to me. So this is my own internal monologue that's going on, that's creating this, by the way. I'll point that out. That, you know, I had all these people and I looked at their lives and I looked at, well, hell yeah, you can be content. Look at your house. You got both your parents. You know, you got a car, you got food on your table. You don't got to worry about where food's coming from. Of course, you can be content. Don't look at me and talk to me like this is my internal unhealthy Brittany. You know, like I was angry with people telling me, yeah, be content with what you have. Okay, but you've not had to question where your next meal's coming from.
Yes.
You know, you haven't had to question if you're safe in your own home. You haven't had your doorknob turned around and locked from the outside.
Yes.
You haven't gone through that. So don't tell me to be content where I am. And so I think that's like, yes, trauma, the amount of trauma that people go through, that has to play such a complex role in contentment.
Which is why dealing with your trauma is so important, because otherwise, Brittany, you get stuck in, and you have been doing a lot of work, but you're still stuck in that definition of contentment despite all the last 4 years of personal development work, when you threw everything out, you rebuilt it from scratch, and you're here where you are now teaching on this podcast and in our book. You still have these kind of trauma response from your brain, despite the fact it's been many years, you've healed, you've worked on it. But think about all those people, they haven't done anything of the sort. And so they just go through life looking at it from that prism of their definition. And it's not just contentment they do this with. It's everything. It's everything about their relationships, about how they interact with people, about, like you said on your story thing today, how they feel and give love.
Yeah.
Like when you kind of said the whole, well, they abandoned me, and they were the ones who loved me, so therefore that's how I viewed love. You abandon people you love. And it's like, it sounds bizarre to say it out loud like that, and yet that's what you know. Same with contentment. Contentment is, well, just get over that you were molested sexually, that I was beat physically. Just get over that. That's your contentment. And I think at some point our brains go, no, I'm not content with that. I'm not happy about that. That wasn't a good thing in any way, shape, form, or fashion. Screw contentment in that context.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly it. That is perfectly described, and that's why this conversation is extremely complex. Like, and that's perfect. Yeah, just like I was saying with love, and it's just so many different emotional things that we view as, that one person can view as the best thing ever, and another person can view it as, hell no, I ain't doing that. I can't tell you how many times, like I've been there as I'm going through and listening to vulnerability, for example. Brene Brown, can't help it. I'm sorry. Brene Brown is like Miss Vulnerability, but like she loathed the word. Like she hated it. That the more she was trying to research her way out of the truth that you needed to be vulnerable in order to feel loved and all of these things. And it's like, yes. Because meanwhile, while I'm trying to disprove that contentment is a good thing, I learned that it's actually not. Like it can be both. Like it's so complex that it can be both things. That your definition of just being happy with where you are and doing more.
At peace with where you are, not necessarily happy. I know people kind of use happy, kind of like they use love very flippantly, but I want to avoid the happy, sad kind of, I guess, extremes. At peace is kind of a good way to describe it, that the contentment is, okay, things are happening, but I'm okay. Or things are happening and I'm okay. It's like you want to kind of have that kind of, I'm at peace, and like, thank you, Father, I'm at peace.
Yeah. Yeah, and even while you're saying that, there are things in life that you just don't have to be at peace about. And I can, like trauma, like someone mistreating you.
In the midst of the trauma, but post-trauma, please be at peace with post-trauma. Yeah. I'm at peace with having cut off my dad, and I did 3 years ago. You're at peace with not seeing your abuser, even though you think about him every once in a while. I think about my dad. We talk about them in our life, but they're not traumatizing us anymore. So the contentment is, okay, that happened, yes, but look what we get to do because of those experiences. Not happy that they happened, but because they happened, it opened the doors of opportunity for me to be content, to start a podcast about mindset and trauma and challenging your beliefs and all the things, and then writing a book and a series, hopefully, of books that we were going to do, which, by the way, you guys, we're not just going to do journals. We got a special surprise. You want to tell them real quick the idea that we have, or you want to hold off?
Are we doing the idea, or we're doing journal 2?
Well, the idea is the one that comes right after this book that we're about to release. So,
I'm going to tell the whole story because I'm a storyteller. I'll be fast, I promise. So Jimmy had bought me this. He had sent it to me from Amazon. Just this. Do you have it? I don't have it next to me. Okay, Jimmy's going to go grab it real quick. I'll wait on him so you can see. But it's a coloring book. Yes. It says, you fucking got this. And I love it. And it's just a square coloring book. And I open it up and I'm looking at this thing and it's got cool little sayings in it. And yes, exactly. And as soon as I get it, I just got this incredible idea. I'm like, we need to make a one step deeper coloring book. Like, we have to, with all these sayings and things that we talk about all the time, like anger is not an emotion, it's a reaction, or feel your fucking feelings. Like, we have to make a coloring book, which also, by the way, would be a good place to go while you're going through the one step deeper journal and you're dealing with all the heaviness that is in that journal. It would be Exactly. That's how I feel. But like, it just would be such a good place to just color out those feelings, to get those feelings on the outside of you. And so I'm really excited about that.
So, we're hoping to have that out maybe 3 months after we get the Foundations book out. So here's kind of the lineup. And I didn't mean to like stop the show. But this was cool. We're going to do a journal and then a coloring book that will go along with the journal. Then we'll do another journal and then another coloring book to go along with that journal, and kind of go so forth and so on. Brittany and I are already like a year and a half down the road worth of books. And so stay tuned, guys. If you love this show and you love what we do in spoken form, get ready, because in written form, we're about to hit you between the eyeballs. It's gonna be fun. A lot of people ask me, Jimmy, how do you get such good deep sleep? Well, there's a lot of things that I do, but one of the newest things that I recently added is this upgraded magnesium from a company called Upgraded Formulas. Go to their website, upgradedformulas.com, and you can learn all about this nano technology that they use for this particular mineral of magnesium. Again, it's called Upgraded Magnesium, and it's got all the different forms of magnesium in it, using the nanotechnology so it gets absorbed a lot better. Guys, I have seen my deep sleep improve by as much as 30 to 40% simply by adding in this product along with sunshine exposure, darkness in the room, cooler temperature, all of the things that I always have done. So again, upgradedformulas.com is the website. Go check them out.
Yes, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And clearly, I'm going to have to dive in a little bit more and uncover and peel back the layers of contentment for me. I'm going to have to peel that back and do a little bit more work, which is what I love about personal development. You were talking about that earlier, and I want to point that out, that you got to watch me see this live. You got to listen to me do this live and like kind of struggle and grapple with the old definition and the unhealthy and how I saw it and that perception. And then you also got to see me kind of be curious about this other definition that this other person has. And you got to watch me or listen to me do that. That is personal development. It's like noticing, like a switch goes on and you see something, an area that you can do better in. And so it's just curiosity. And so I was curious about your definition, and then it just got me thinking, and I'm just thinking right here on the podcast. And that's how I've done personal development with everything. Any new little nuance or thing that comes up, I just get curious about it. And so I just dig a little deeper.
Well, and my litmus test is the thought process you're having adding value to or taking away from your personal development? So I, as I was hearing you describe it, I'm getting aghast, going, that's not helping you, Brittany. That's actually taking away from the work you've been doing. So I'm not saying to grab my definition and just, well, okay, that's the one now. But I think once you ponder it a little more, once we're done recording this podcast, you're probably going to go, crap, my whole life I've been looking at contentment as this really negative thing and complacency. Don't ever want to move. Don't want to move. And now you're just like, holy crap, what have I done? Because I could have been growing, and now you will grow henceforth.
Yeah, and that's what I love. Listen, contentment is not the first place that I've done this, where something was just kind of thrown in my face. Like even with Jimmy, like on the phone, I'll just be like, wait a minute, what did you just say? And it just like completely just blows my mind. And like I have to come back to the thought of like, whoa, okay, let's peel back the layers. And so I'm actually glad that this happened right here, because you get to see exactly what it is that I do. Like when I go about this and I just uncover something curious, and I just get curious about it, not angry at myself, not like, oh, I missed out on all those years. It's just, I'm just curious.
What's funny is Brittany and I actually talked about this for about 5 minutes this morning. I'm like, okay, we're doing this contentment. We were supposed to do it 2 weeks ago. Just so we're on. Hey, I was like, just so we're on the same page. And I started describing what I thought the show would be. And you're like, yeah, that's it. And it's like, you and I weren't on the same page. And
No.
Good. Like, I don't mind that. I love that we do come different. I've had more life experience. You've had different life experiences. You're a mom and wife. And so anyway, it's great. I love this. And guys, those of you watching, it's like, we hope you have these kinds of moments all the time when you listen to our podcast, when you read our books. This is what we do on this show. And next week's episode, just kind of give a sneak little peek about next week. Miss Thang here, Brittany, is going to do her thing you've heard her talk about in the past, where she has friends come over of Wildman's, and she'll just sit there and observe and listen to what they have to say. And then at some point, she'll just kind of throw a little something in there to see if they'll engage, and you do your thing. You're going to do that with me live on the air next week. So that's kind of exciting, because I don't have any idea what you're about to do. And then what that does, too, is it sets up a template that if I have to be gone for an episode, you'll do that with maybe your other Brittany friend, if she's game. Brittany.
I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, she would be the first person. She's kind of safe.
Becky would easily do it.
Oh yeah. They're both kind of safe options because they've been friends with me for a while, so I already do that.
They've ridden this horse a few times.
Yeah. I love it because one of them like wants me to like take her side, and she's learned I'm not that friend. I'm not the boost friend. I'm not the yeah girl. No, I'm not that friend. I'm the looking at it from both sides.
Yeah.
I'm that friend. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to doing that with you. And I'm also looking forward to anybody else who would be willing to walk through that with me.
Yeah, so send a DM to Miss at becoming.Brittany Lee. Brittany, remember, is Brittany over on Instagram. And yeah, maybe you'll be on an upcoming episode of the One Step Deeper podcast. That'll be fun. So, but yeah, you're going to do that. But what else do we need to say about the complexity of contentment that we haven't shared yet?
I mean, I think we're good, and I've got some work to do.
You think we're content? Are we at peace about things now?
Yes. I think we're at peace.
I'm really glad we didn't record this 2 weeks ago, because I don't know that this content would have come out.
Right.
And the last couple of weeks, you've been in a bit of disarray with the sickness and then us working on the book and everything. So it's just been, I think we were meant to record this one today. And so I'm really glad that we got to get this out here today. So go ahead.
No, I'm good. I was just smiling.
He's just smiling. So we have a little bit of extra time here at the end. So talk a little bit about what it was like writing this book that we are about to release.
I think this book was the first time, still bringing the episode into it a little bit. Yes. This is the first time I've ever been content in my whole life. I have dreamt of writing a book, and have literally, first time I'll tell this to anybody but you and Chris, I have attempted writing a book 4 different times. And so to be at the end, it's done, this is it, check mark, I did it. And I never put any expectation on it other than I just wanted to do it. And it was one of those things where I was just content every single day to just chug along and write my pages, and then poof, it's here. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, what had happened? But it's been such a wonderful experience, and obviously so grateful to Jimmy and all of the phone calls and the counseling and you can do this. It's okay. You're not an imposter. You got this. Oh my gosh. It is so, I'm very thankful to have done this together. But yeah, it's kind of surreal sitting in that.
And I got one of your favorite TV contestants to write you a little encouragement, or make you a little encouragement video. Let's show them that video right now.
Hey, what's going on? It's Boston Rob. This message is going out to Brittany Lee Davis. Brittany, Jimmy reached out to me, asked me to surprise you, told me you're a huge fan of Survivor, and he also let me in on a little bit of other information. Apparently, you've doubted yourself writing your first ever book, The One Step Deeper Journal. Brittany, I want to let you know that this is your time to outwit, outplay, and outlast the life you've always wanted. Remember, when I was playing a game in Survivor, but this is your real life. As a longtime fan of Survivor, watching with your dad, Mike, since you were a little girl, you know exactly how hard playing the game is. The day-to-day challenges that we face, life is really no different. In those moments when you don't feel like you belong or you don't deserve what's happening to you, remind yourself, this is your lifelong dream. It's time for you to stop becoming Brittany Lee in 2022 and beyond. In the game of life, in the game of Survivor, there's obstacles and challenges. It's part of it. You're going to face them. Figure out a way to adapt. Be persistent. Don't quit. Don't give up. You're going to get there. We all believe in you. We all love you.
So those of you that aren't fans of Survivor from CBS, that is Boston Rob. And what did he play, like 4 times on the show? I think he was contestant 4 different times on the show. I think he won once or twice. I don't remember how many times, but he was on there a bunch. Very famous, but he was very kind to make that video encouraging you, because in the midst of this process, you had those moments and everything. But look, I was telling you early on, I have co-authored a bunch of books with a lot of medical doctors. I've never had this kind of collab with a co-author like I have with you. And I'm reading your words. And yes, sometimes the words weren't always refined because you're used to doing Instagram posts. Writing an Instagram post and writing a book are 2 different things. But I could see your heart. And of course, I know you very well. I hear you on this podcast. I talk to you as best friends. So I knew what you were saying. And I just think, you guys, you have no idea that this book is about to hit you between the eyeballs. And look, we try to start slow and kind of give a few jabs and everything. And by the 4th section, the last 10, we're just all out punching at you.
Okay, so I'm reading it right now, guys. I'm going through and like combing through and reading it all as a whole. I have read pieces and pieces and pieces and pieces, but like actually reading it all the way through for the first time right now. And I am blown away. I'm in like the surface level. I'm in the first section still. And I'm like getting gut punched. Like, oh my gosh, this is insane. Like, and reading our stories. Like, I am so in love. I guess I'm a little, partial because I wrote it. But like, no, truly. It's incredible, like, to watch Jimmy's story play out. And then, obviously I know my story and how it plays out, but like to watch the journal entries and just be excited about people getting their hands on it and them going to the end, like answering the questions. Like, I'm a little excited.
Yes. So we decided early on, you guys, we wanted this to be a journal. So it literally is 300 pages, by the way. So that includes the words and the journal entry parts. And so the words probably take up maybe 220 of those 300 pages. And there's a bunch of places for you to write in your answers to different questions. And look, we decided not to do an audiobook for that reason. We want you to go methodically through this. We want you to write all in this book. And look, if you need to buy extra copies to give out to other people, this isn't a book you're going to read and just pass on to someone. Everybody needs their own personal. And I would literally put your name in it, write the date you started this, go through it over a 40-day period, at least 40 days. Don't rush through this. If we did an audiobook, you'd sit there and listen to it. Brittany and I are like, that's the antithesis of what we're trying to get you to do. Because number one, you ain't going to be able to handle it. You're not. You need to take time. It's like a good prime rib steak. You're not going to eat the whole thing in one big bite, are you? No. You need to take a bite and go, okay, wow, that was good. Okay, next. And then you eat it one bite at a time. That's how we want you to consume this journal. It's not easy at times, and there will be some that you need to reread, maybe ponder, go off, take a walk, think about what you just read, and then come back and answer the questions later. Maybe redo that day again. Like, we really want you to go through this, and this is something Brittany and I were thinking of. We want to go through the book with you. And so, yes, we wrote the journal, but it doesn't mean we can't learn the lessons from what we wrote. Yes. And so we're going to set up a date when all of us can start. We want to give enough time for everybody to get a copy of the book. And then once you get the book, we'll go through it together. And then you can follow us on social media and we can talk about, hey, day one, this is what we went through, and da-da-da, and then have the conversation. So stay tuned for that over on our social media pages.
Oh yeah, I cannot wait. Like I can already see. Man, I hope people are nice. Like I understand. I'm ready for reviews of any kind, but it's just like I know how tough it's gonna be, But but that's why you and I want to go through it with everybody, like to be there in that moment with them.
But look, if they leave a review that says this hits me too much between the eyeballs and it's a 1 star, I will take that 1 star. Look, I get it, but we're gonna on the people that do love us to go leave us 5-star reviews. And so,
yes, I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, so we're gonna have it in paper and Kindle versions for you guys, not Audible audiobook like we originally. The guy that's helping us, Hank, put this book together. He's the producer of this podcast. He was like, well, maybe down the road you could just do the words part of it. But I'm just like, no, I want them to actually do the journal, because it would be silly. The only thing we could do differently with an audiobook is maybe guide them in the questions and have a conversation with them during the audio that kind of gets them to think even deeper, since they're not writing. I don't know how you would do that. So,
well, I'm sure we'll figure that out and explore that.
Yes. So, but episode 52, you guys, the complexity of contentment. This was good. I think this is the very first time ever on air that I've seen you take this shift in like how you think about a topic that we're discussing. And it was beautiful to see. And look, you opened my eyes to, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm sitting here thinking it's the best thing in the world to be content. And you're like, no, it's the worst thing in the world to be content. And I'm like, what? And so we learned from one another today, and hopefully everyone watching and listening today, you learned as well. Okay, take us on.
All right, guys, onestepdeeperpodcast.com. You can find all the past episodes there. YouTube, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's the first place you can see it. If you are a fan, that's where you want to go. 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's the first place, YouTube. Facebook and Instagram. It's put up on Jimmy's page, on the One Step Deeper podcast page. I like to put up the tidbit. Jimmy, you put up the tidbit as well. Just like a little 15-minute segment of just like, Jimmy always does such a good job of just getting the punch of the episode, just getting it in there. And so that's a good way to like, tease yourself a bit with the episode to come for each week. And that usually goes up a few days before the podcast. And then obviously we are a regular podcast. You can listen to us anywhere you listen to podcasts: Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, ALEXA. And you can even turn on the video form of the podcast on ALEXA if you have one like me that has the little screen. I love to do that. And of course my kids love to do that. They're like, play Brittany and Jimmy. Oh yeah, okay. They like to make fun of me. They're in the background going, onestepdeeperpodcast.com. They love to make fun of me.
The One Step. That's Hank, by the way, our producer. He's the one doing the voice of, you're listening to the One Step Deeper podcast with Jimmy Moore and Brittany Davis.
Yes, my kids will go, my 4-year-old will go around doing that. And I'm like, really? Thanks, guys. And if you love the episodes like my kids apparently do, or just love that, go leave us a review. We love hearing from you guys. If you have any ideas or certain things, certain topics that you want to listen or you want to learn about or you want to hear our opinions about, just leave that for me and Jimmy, and we'll get around to doing that for you. But we love you guys, and like, I'm so excited for where we're going. That's it.
Are you content now? And in the good way, content now. So
yes.
Well, thank you guys so much for watching here, and don't you dare miss next week. Miss Brittany is going to therapize me. I'm kind of scared. I'm not sure what's going to happen, but you got to come back next week to find out. So until then, we'll see you then, guys.
OneStepDeeperPodcast.com.